All right, guys, follow along this week on Land Beat. We're making a bedding thicket right before your eyes. Guys, it's June, it's hot, but that's not stopping the habitat improvements and hunting strategy from getting deployed on this farm. Guys, we're gonna walk you through the prescription of creating a bedding thicket in this timber composition this week. There's a lot of different ways to create a bedding thicket dependent upon what that timber stand looks like, the species, as well as the density and the age of those trees. But for this one, we've got a moderately aged forest, probably was pastured in the 50s, 60s time frame. A lot of red oak and the shingle oak family, some black oaks, the occasional chinkapin, and elm species are what's most common in here. So we don't really have any marketable timber, so we're being aggressive. And the whole purpose of these acres, I say acres, but really acre to maybe acre and a quarter, is to hold deer during daylight hours, because just up this ridge is a food plot that has proven to be successful. But to create more consistency from that early season, we're putting this bedding thicket on a north slope, cool, shaded. It's gonna match the clover and alfalfa planted up there. So to create this in a moderate stand of timber, the general rule of thumb that we're gonna go by is the biggest DBH tree. So the biggest diameter at breast height, here's about my breast height, the diameter of this tree, the biggest third of the trees are going to get girdle and sprayed. You can see that just right over here at this tree right here. That's on that kind of medium to high end. And I'd already thrown quite a bit of debris down on the ground, so chose to use a girdle and spray method. That tree is going to die standing, but we're gonna get sunlight in. After that, on your medium DBH trees, so in this stand anywhere from 7, 8 inches on up to 14-inch tree, and 14, 15 and up is the larger category. That medium category, pretty much just flush cutting, right? We're trying to encourage this tree to resprout and create more stems, more forage, more cover, but what we're doing is putting that debris flat on the ground, the trunk itself as well as the canopy. That's going flat on the ground. The largest diameter still staying up high, not clogging the understory, so we have mobility, but it's gonna be full sun as it dies out throughout the rest of this growing season. The smallest diameter, so essentially 7-inch DBH and less in this forest stand, is going to be either flush cut or hinge cut. Because of the number of stems in that size category, a lot of these are gonna get hinge cut. Hinge cut's a very highly debated how you do it, when you do it, what size you do it, what species you do it. But really, to make it easy, we're saying 7-inch, 6-inch, and less in this specific application of a bedding thicket. That is what we're choosing to do to create then that understory structure component that's going to encourage deer to bed in here. So this is a great example of a flush cut scenario. Anywhere from this height to down is going to be about what we're looking for height-wise off the ground. Don't think too much about it, but really where you walk up to it, it looks high here, but I was on the high side of this when I cut it. I'm not gonna sit there and bend all the way over, use too much energy. It's obviously hot. Let's think smart. Let's step over here to the girdle real quick. And you can see we're already getting quite a bit more sunlight in here, and some of these girdle trees obviously haven't died yet. We're doing it today. So think even more expression of sunlight throughout the rest of the growing season and growing seasons beyond. But as we step over here, right, we've got some structure on the ground from a felled tree up higher on the ridge. And then adjacent to here, we've got shingle oak. Again, same size, diameter class, about 8-inch tree. That was flush cut right next to a little bit larger, maybe a 12 to 14-inch tree tops. This was obviously girdled, one girdle, and then applying herbicide into that tree to kill it effectively. It's going to die standing and not clog up the understory. Now, for hinge cut, let's move up the ridge to see a couple of those other smaller diameter elm trees that have been hinged over. All right, guys, the big thing with bedding thickets is we want to manage and mitigate the debris on the ground. Now you're saying, well, good job, Matt, sarcastically. Look at that mess behind you. Yes, there are some tops and some trunks that are all laying roughly here together. That's just the way they're growing and the way that they're going to fall into this stand. But this is not example of the entire unit, right? So we have a couple that pull together it's okay because we have plenty of sunlight everywhere else to spur on new sprouts, new growth, and really deer can work easily right through here around this side if they choose to. They got plenty of backing cover right here. So I'm not worried about this at all because it's not representative of the entire unit. So don't get caught up in the weeds there. Think about this whole unit in particular and what's to come out of the cover you've created. All right guys, for the last cutting technique and the smallest diameter in this forest stand, this is about a 5, maybe 6 inch diameter elm. Elms are a little bit softer in the hardwood category, and they hinge very well and they resprout very well, and deer love to eat the resprout. So great tree to hinge. And I did a knee high, maybe thigh high. I don't go above the waist because that's where my protection is, right? I want to make sure I'm safe. But this tree is very controllable because of its size. If I need to steer it as I'm pushing it, I can. So that's why we go 6 inches or so less DBH, maybe 7 inch DBH, but elm hinged, cut 3/4 of the way through, left to lay over. And now we've got 3 different structure types. We have a hinge cut that's got vertical stump and a lot of horizontal cover. We also have flush cuts, which are pretty low to the ground. We'll have root sprouts come up from those, or stump sprouts come up from those flush cuts, as well as a treetop laid horizontally across the ground. And then thirdly, the biggest class is the trees that are girdled and sprayed. They're still standing, but we have sunlight coming through completely because they're going to die standing. So this mixture of techniques, mixture of ways that you address the forest to create ideal cover, we want to create cover structure on the ground, and we need these placed in the right locations to see their maximum benefit. But hopefully this video helps you. Have you guys been creating any bedding thickets on your property? If so, let us know what the hunting success has been like after creating these. And I'd love to know what you guys think about this technique. Bedding thickets in the hardwoods.